I'm standing here, guys, in what is possibly the most amazing home I've ever been to. I've been living here for the last 24 hours as we've been shooting a special masterclass with John Butcher. I've never been in a space that seems so beautiful, that is so filled with the most spectacular artwork, that is designed to be in tune with nature, to inspire people to think in unconventional ways. This home itself is a masterpiece of art. But the man in this home is special because what he's created is a masterpiece of a life. John is an outlier in every aspect of life. He showed me that all the ways we've learned to define success in our life, from the time we're little kids to high school to college, a lot of that is absolute rubbish. And that there are entirely new dimensions of success which are emerging in the world today, which are unconventional, controversial, but truly are going to lead to you building not just a happy life, but a legendary life. So let me tell you a couple of things about John Butcher and why you want to be paying attention to this man whom we're going to be bringing onto Mindvalley Academy. The first thing is, John is not a personal growth author. He's an entrepreneur, the chairman of the board of the Precious Moments family of companies that has done 10 billion in sales in the past 30 years. They create those beautiful porcelain dolls that you may have seen everywhere in the world. And while doing that, he has started 20 additional companies. A couple of stunning facts about John. John is in his 50s, and recently he released a blog post that showed his body at the age of 29 and 49. Take a look at this image. This man has somehow been able to defy aging. But it's not just health and fitness. John is a grandfather. He's got 2 grandkids, 1 on the way, 4 children. But you know, he's created a life around his family and his kids so beautiful that his kids do not go to regular school. John instead travels the world with them. He's been to half the world's countries. He has said, "My children will learn more in the bazaars of Egypt than in the American public school system." He has completely hacked the idea of raising kids, raising grandkids, and schooling. But now let's talk about his relationships. I have never seen a man and woman more in love and committed to each other than John and his wife, Missy. 30 years together, and they have built one of the most mind-blowingly role model relationships in the world. But there's more. John is able to create a life where he can pursue his passions with ease. He just became an artist. This year, in his 50s, he has sold over 100 grand worth of his artwork. He's now being asked to create art pieces for celebrities around the world, and his work is astonishing. Now, John's secret is really simple, but it's unconventional. And it's a secret I wish every American and world public school system was teaching their kids. It is humanity's loss that this is not mainstream. His secret is a model he calls Lifebook. See, John accidentally became a personal growth legend, and this is what makes him an outlier. All of the other billionaires I've spoken to are unconsciously competent. They are good at what they do, but they cannot retrace their steps and teach you. John is consciously competent. He's built a formula that he's applied to his life diligently for the last several decades, and he started teaching it to people. It started with a few close friends, and then it expanded. Then he started inviting people into his home where he would get facilitators to come and teach them this formula. And this formula, guys, is called Lifebook. I took it with my wife 5 years ago, and it radically changed my life. And that's why for the last 5 years, I've been trying to convince John to come on camera to bring him onto the Mindvalley community. So what you're in for here is a treat. You're about to witness something that we have never done before. We are bringing not a guru, not an author, but a brilliant outlier. A man whose ideas are so powerful, they have the potential to shake up every single thing you think you know about success, about happiness, about fulfillment. Stay tuned for our upcoming masterclass with the one and only John Butcher. So as you can tell, John's a pretty remarkable character. Now, what you're going to learn here is 5 powerful pieces of advice. Now, John initially prepared this for a mastermind call with people who pay him somewhere along the lines of $55,000 to be in his private mastermind. And he's going to be sharing some of that information that he gives to this elite group of people with you here today. It is powerful stuff. He shared this with me, and I literally begged him and pleaded with him to get this information out to you because it had such a profound impact on my life. 2 dramatic things have happened in my life because of Lifebook, directly because of ideas I learned from John. Let me tell you what they are so you get an idea of just how deep and how unusual these trainings are. Number 1, I always used to think of my health as going to get worse and worse as I got older. I just somehow naturally assumed that when I was 70, I would fit the stereotype I had of being an old man. I no longer think that way. In fact, as I turned 40, I was healthier. I could actually get down and do more push-ups than I could when I was 25. And a lot of this came because of this new vision of health I learned from John. Take a look at this picture. I've shared this picture before. It shows John and what he looked like at 29, and then what he looked like at 49. Notice, aging doesn't seem to apply to this man. What if, in fact, John is correct? What if aging shouldn't apply to any of us? What if we could look that good when we're in our 50s? John is now in his 50s, and he is still absolutely ripped. And keep in mind, this is a man who is a grandfather. If that is a grandpa bod, all of us want that. Now the second thing is, and this is another example of really exceptional living. Today, every year, my wife and I take our kids and we move to a different city, and we literally find an Airbnb and relocate to that city. And we live there for an entire month. I would never have thought that was possible because I have a business, I have kids, I have close to 200 employees. I'm a CEO of a mid-sized company. How can I just leave my job like that? But then I found out that John has started 20 companies and spends 3 to 5 months every year living like that. And if he could spend 5 months, I could certainly spend 1. And so as I pursued this, everything in my life started to fit around this vision of being able to escape for a month every year. My companies run on their own, and I have the freedom to truly be a husband and a dad and explore a new city. Just those 2 examples changed my life. But John's work has changed the lives of countless other people. And John and all of you listening, I just want to share some really impressive stories from people who have taken Lifebook. And these stories are just so inspiring, so motivating. They motivated me to see what is truly possible with the right intention. This woman over here in that beautiful wedding picture is Amanda. And what really happened that was incredible to Amanda is she went for Lifebook in July of 2008. And there she really worked hard defining the future of her love life, of her love relationships. She said, I quote, I became aware that I needed to actively think about what qualities were important to me in a life partner, and that I could search for someone with those top qualities. Once I put my goals on paper, I met Brett exactly 6 months later. How is that for a payoff? And she said after meeting this beautiful man, Brett, their wedding took place in Costa Rica, 45 of their family members. And she said, our life books allowed us to get to know each other on such a deep level. From the beginning, we knew exactly what we were putting into the relationship and what we expected to get out of it. That is Amanda Doodle. And both she and her husband, Brett, are now Lifebook graduates. Now check out the picture in this case study. This is Dr. Kapin Laszlo. And look at the before-after picture. So here's his story. He turned 40 and he said, I was ready to get into the best shape of my life, and crickets, nada tostada. I really let myself down. I like that word, nada tostada. And he said, so when I turned 41, I said, okay, this is it. Something was different this time. He was now a Lifebook graduate. I was feeling the burden of my weight, he says. I had to let myself get into a size 38 jeans and I could no longer hold my stomach in. I was experiencing chronic heartburn, foot pain, mid-back spasms. I kept thinking, holy shnikes, everything really goes to hell in your 40s. I worked my ass off for 9 months, lost 45 pounds. Now I wear a size 30 jeans, and I'm happy to say I've got into the best shape of my life at 41. Wow. Now this is Bridget Finn. Bridget Finn was diagnosed with cancer. Specifically, she realized that she had 2 sizable tumors and was going to require a hysterectomy. And she said, I was terrified. She was 43 years old when this happened. Now, after attending Lifebook, she said she gained the confidence to rethink her health. Her Lifebook instructor introduced her to the health and fitness category, and immediately she saw opportunity. And this is what happened. She went into remission. In early January, she says, I began to take note of how my health and fitness prioritizations began to inform and dictate positive changes in other categories. My clients were happy. My love relationships were better. My intellectual and spiritual life were at an undeniable high point, and I was reaping the fruit of daily meditation and self-prioritization. I became more aware of choices I made. I became 100% committed to becoming the person I needed to be in order to live successfully in every category of my life. In 3 months, she lost 13 pounds of flab, replaced it with lean muscle. Check out these before and after pictures. The transformation is secondary to the tremendous gains I've received resulting from me prioritizing me. I'm a different person, a different wife, a different mother, a different professional living in a different life. Everything is different, and I'm quite simply never going back. Now, what's interesting is all aspects of her life improved, even her love life. She says, my love relationship blossomed in ways I couldn't have predicted. After 18 years of marriage, my husband and I have committed to living in an extraordinary love relationship. Thank you, Bridget Finn, for sharing that with us. So with that, let's introduce you to John Butcher. John, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here. He finally got me on camera. This is the very first on-camera interview I've ever done. So,
no kidding.
No, it's
really?
true, yeah.
This is the
first
very
webinar, first webinar I've ever done in my life.
Well, don't mess it up.
Okay.
So let's get started,
All
John.
right.
So you had 5 really powerful ideas, models of reality that you were going to share with us. And I heard this as we were having dinner or breakfast one day, and it was just mind-blowing. And this is why I really wanted John to bring these ideas to you. So these ideas are not about Lifebook per se, but they are key ideas that John shares with some of his top mastermind students. Pay close attention and have your workbooks open. John, it's all you.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll give a little context here. So when Lifebook Ultimate is the high-level mastermind course that I shared these for the first time. All of these people have been through Lifebook. It's changed their lives. They've gone up in our program. And what these 5 things are, when I take a look back at the 26 years that Missy and I have been married, and I think about what were the core concepts, values, strategies that we used to create this extraordinary life over and above the Lifebook principles. That's what this is. It's sort of advanced stuff. These would be the 5 pillars that I would identify as the strongest ones in our lives for the last 26 years.
And these are all replicable, so the people listening here can apply these in their lives.
That's right. Yes, that's absolutely right. So the first one is a little bit unusual, and that is that very early on, my wife Missy and I committed to each other and went all in our relationship. Our love relationship is the foundation of our lives. Everything that we've built, every company that we've created, our entire lifestyle is based on our love. So our love comes first. Everything else is subservient to that. And I think that's given us just a strength and power as a couple to navigate through the challenges. And we've had a lot of challenges, Vishen. We've fought many battles, and that's what's really kept us in the game, and also given us the energy that we needed to achieve some of the big goals that we've achieved. So that's the very first thing, is a huge commitment to our love relationship.
Now, what about people who are not currently in a love relationship?
You know, all I can speak from is my own experience. We've had a lot of people go through Lifebook that are single and have gotten a tremendous amount out of the program. We've had a lot of people go through Lifebook that are single that wanted a great marriage, that have ended up making that come true in their lives, because there's some pretty solid strategies inside the program to go out there and find the love of your life. But, you know, I really can't speak about what I don't know. And what I do know is the power of our love relationship has been the driving force, the catalyst that has allowed so much of the extraordinary life that we have to unfold.
So we know from polling data that about 60% of our audience that's watching right now are in a relationship.
Okay.
And 40% are not yet in a relationship, but a lot of them seek to be. So for those of you who are not yet in a relationship, pay attention to what we're going to talk about next, because when you do get into a relationship, I remember telling John that his ideas on relationship, I wish I had heard them when in my first year of marriage.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are in a relationship, pay attention, because this is game-changing stuff.
So our love relationship has really been the fuel for me to accomplish what I've accomplished. And over our 26 years together, we've really dialed in some strategies pretty tightly that have made this love relationship continue to blossom. You know, for most couples, the fire goes out pretty quickly. You've heard of the 7-year itch. That's about how long most couples have before things start to fade. The most common story we've heard at Lifebook for sure is, you know, you get married. When you first start your relationship, things are hot, things are awesome. You love spending time together. You want to spend all your time together, you know. The sex is incredible. You make sure you look good for each other all the time. You take so much time and care and attention in the relationship, and that goes on for a while. But then what happens? The kids come, you know, you have kids, your careers heat up. The pressures from the outside world start to, you know, make more and more demands on you, and you just have less time to spend together. You put less attention into the relationship. Your romance sort of starts to fade. You're not doing those overnight dates anymore. And all of a sudden you wake up and the passion is gone. This is the common story, unfortunately. And it's the recipe for creating a mediocre relationship. We didn't want that to happen to us. So we put specific strategies in place to not only ensure that that wouldn't happen, but to ensure that our love continued to get better and better, hotter and hotter, and more passionate over the years, which is exactly what has happened to us, Vishen. So I'll share a couple of those strategies with you now.
Right,
All
absolutely.
right. Okay, good. So the first set of strategies I'll call the connection rituals. Well, then let me just preface it by this. Habits in every area of your life is how you get a great life. So that's the bottom line. It's going to always come back to what you do repeatedly. Habitual behavior is what creates success over time. So that's just a preface to any category of life. So for love relationship, connection rituals. Here's what they are: daily, weekly, quarterly, yearly. This is what we focused on. So a daily connection ritual for us is every day after work, 5 o'clock or so. Sometimes we get a cocktail, sometimes we don't. And we walk around our garden for at least a half hour, if not an hour, and we just simply reconnect. If we've spent time apart from each other, I catch up on what happened to Missy during the day, and she catches up on what my day was like. And we hit that path, and we've done it for so many years in a row that literally we can just feel our bodies just settle in and come down, and the stress starts to melt. And we just spend time together in our beautiful garden. Phenomenal daily connection ritual. Now, other Lifebook members have other strategies that are just as effective. One of our best friend couples, Pat and Lori, they've got a ritual called Wine at 5. And every evening after work, they pour a little glass of wine, they sit in their chair looking out over their view, and they just reconnect with each other. So a daily connection ritual is phenomenal, because connection and communication is probably the single most important factor in keeping a love relationship healthy over time. Our weekly connection ritual, I think, has been the single biggest love relationship strategy that we've employed over the years. So our weekly connection ritual is an overnight date. An overnight date without the kids, once a week, no matter where in the world we are, and we've done it for 25 straight years.
That's beautiful.
Missing very few. We've missed a couple, but very, very few. Doesn't matter if we're in Africa, doesn't matter if we're in Southeast Asia, we figure out a way to do it. Now, this implies you got to put some things in place. You've got to have good child care. Not only do you have to have good child care, but you should have backup. So we've got relatives, we've got a housekeeper, we've got our big kids can watch our little kids. We've got a roster that we can go to so that we know that the kids are not only going to be well looked after, but Missy is just a master at making sure that they've got activities that are so fun for them that they don't even miss us. They're like, bye-bye, have fun, see you later. There's no crying and so on. They know that they're going to go to Six Flags or they're going to go to Mitsuwa Japanese market and get some hot ramen or whatever it is that they love to do. So we make sure that they have a lot of fun, and that gives us an overnight date. This is what married couples just don't do anymore. And this is our connection date. This is our sex date. This is our romance date. We used to go into the city. We had a place in the city for 18 years, and we live outside the suburbs of Chicago, and we for 18 years we had a place in the city. And we'd go there to escape the children, awesome dinner, romantic, sexy time, and then we come home the next. These days, our kids are a little bit older. We kick them out now. Right? We send them somewhere and we enjoy our beautiful home. So that overnight date has been a phenomenal strategy for us. I think it's been probably the biggest love relationship strategy because it involves sex, which is incredibly important. You know, and after 25 years, if you want to keep it hot, you've got to put some time and attention into it. It involves connection, it involves romance, and so there you go. Then there's the quarterly and the yearly rhythm for love relationship, which would be a trip alone together. We try to get away for a week a quarter, and we do a pretty good job of that. Not every single quarter, but we'll probably hit 3 a year average. And for sure, 1 week a year, we will choose a spa somewhere in the world, and we'll go off by ourselves, and this is a lifebook trip. And for a week, it's nothing but her and me, just diving deep into our life visions. What are we going to do this year? What kind of a life do we want to create? Is all what we wrote in our life book still valid? Do we want to make tweaks? And we just work on the kind of life that we want to be building together for a solid week while we're in a beautiful spa somewhere. So those are some of our really great connection rituals that I'd highly recommend.
That's amazing. And you guys have been together now how long?
Well, we've known each other for 30 years. We've been together for 26 or 27.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Man, why don't they teach us this in school?
Most people, I mean, I don't think teachers know it. I don't know many people who do know it.
Well, if you want a lasting relationship, I think these are amazing ideas that you can put into place. John, let's go on to your second model for today, living consciously.
Okay, so Vishen, this really is the big one. So Missy and I, at a very young age, got crystal clear on our values. We got crystal clear on what kind of a life we wanted to build. And in our case, we used our life books as the tool to do that. So it started out 20 years ago, probably, by starting to think through, if we want an extraordinary life, what are the areas of life that we have to be competent in? What do we have to, what areas do we have to develop mastery in if we want an extraordinary life? So over a period of years, we started to define the categories of life that we wanted to focus on. We ended up with 12. Took us quite a while to get there. And then in each one of those categories, we got crystal clear on exactly what we wanted to create, why we wanted to create it, and what we would need to do in order to manifest that vision in our lives. So we created this compelling life vision for where we wanted to go at a young age. Like, we're in our 20s now, right? And we did a tremendous amount of thinking about the life we wanted to create together. That vision became our North Star. This is what we're building right here. So what did we have? We had a decision-making framework where we could make good choices always aligned with that life vision. Now, we weren't perfect. We made mistakes. We'd veer off. We'd do a startup that failed, or who knows what, you're young,
Right.
you're going through your life. But no matter how sidetracked we got, we always came back to center. So you take a crystal clear life vision that's unique, that's totally customized to you, and you move toward it for enough years, you're going to make progress, no question. That was probably the number one thing that we did at an early age that set us on this path to create this extraordinary life that we're living today.
And this is something that you can do if you're single too.
Oh,
right?
no question about it. Yeah. I mean, if you're married, you don't want to do this without your spouse.
Right.
For sure. You want to create that life vision together. But if you're single, it's every bit as powerful as, as if you sit down and do it as a couple, no doubt.
Now, you mentioned values. Do you have any recommendation, any exercise on how someone can get truly attuned with their values?
So Ayn Rand defined the word value as that which one acts to gain or keep. So all a value is something that you want in your life, but it's not just a wish. It's not just a daydream. It is something that you're willing to act for and to work hard to keep. So, for instance, our values in parenting: freedom, self-responsibility, and mutual respect. Those are the values of our home. We give our kids as much freedom as they can handle. That's a value that we're willing to act on. But with freedom comes self-responsibility. You will take responsibility for your actions and behaviors. You will not assign blame to somebody else for what you did. You've got the freedom to do whatever you want. You take responsibility for what you do, and then you treat the people around you with mutual respect. That's an example of three values in our parenting. So we just got really clear on our values in every single category, just by literally sitting down and thinking about it and talking about it and then writing it down, which became our life books over time. And there we have a record of it. We know what we care about. We know what we're trying to build. We're crystal clear on where we're going. Now, of course, that evolves. It's a dynamic process. It evolves over time. But Vishen, it was like our North Star. It was like we have a compass now. We know where we're going. We know that the decisions we make have got to be consistent with and coherent with that life vision.
So are you creating a value for each of the 12 categories?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I could go through my life book and I could show you my values in each of the 12 categories.
So living consciously basically means having values and goals for each category.
Living consciously means that is one of the things that entails. It's a little bit broader than that. Living consciously more than anything else means paying attention to the things that are going on in your life, being conscious of your words, being conscious of your thoughts, being conscious of your actions, being conscious of your relationships, paying attention. That's pretty much, in a nutshell, what I think living consciously means.
So I think, John, at this point, it's good to actually explain to people what these 12 categories are. Those of you who have read my book, The Code of the Extraordinary Mind, know that I referenced, John, and I referenced the 12 areas of balance. Mm-hmm. In my book, I refer to it as the 12 areas of balance. In Life Book, they call it the 12 categories. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing, and I borrowed the idea from John when I attended this class 5 years ago. John, tell us about the 12 categories so we can actually get a sense of what are the 12 areas in which you are creating and deciding your values upon.
Okay, that's great. I would love to, Vishen. So the first 5 categories in Life Book are, we call them your personal life categories, because these categories depend on nothing but you. They're you separate from the rest of the world. That's how you can think about them. So the first category is health and fitness. Health and fitness is a category that we're all familiar with. Many people have struggled in this category to achieve their goals. You know, it can be a tough one. There's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of contradictory information. It can be difficult to navigate through this category, but it's foundational. The thing about the health and fitness category is it has an immense effect on the other 11 categories, immense, on all of them. I've actually done a pretty deep essay on the effects of your health and fitness on every other category of your life. Foundational category. The next personal life category is called your intellectual life. Now, there are 2 different sort of sides to your intellectual life, input and output. So input would be educating yourself. That's information coming into your head. You've got to have a good strategy around what do you want to learn? How am I going to get smarter, right? Output is actually thinking. Now you're putting intellect out into the world. This category is often overlooked in the personal development world. The personal development world tends to spend a lot of time talking about spirituality, talking about character, talking about health and fitness. Thinking is sort of the redheaded stepchild of the personal development world, but this category is a barn burner. As a matter of fact, the entire life book process is an intellectual process. What you're doing when you go through Life Book is you are thinking about your life in 12 categories, and what you emerge with is a masterpiece of thinking. So, critical category.
Now, you said output. What is the output aspect of intellectual?
It's thinking. So input is educating yourself and receiving information from the world. Output is, okay, now I'm going to be thinking. I'm going to be generating. I'm generating some offense here, and I'm going
So
to
it could be writing. It could
be writing.
creative work.
Yeah, it could be creative work. I literally set aside time to think every day. Like I'll come across an issue that I want to ponder, and I'll say, all right, Saturday at 2:00, I'm going to think about that. Put it on my calendar. Saturday at 2:00 comes, I walk around my garden and I think about that issue. And that's how I solve problems in my life.
That is fascinating. Let's go on to category number 3.
Okay, category number 3 is your emotional life. And obviously, this is a foundational category. If you want to have a great life, you've got to experience quality emotions on an ongoing basis. So one of the big concepts that we've discovered at Lifebook over our 25 years of studying these categories is that you can exercise a tremendous amount of emotional control in your life if you know how to do it. There's a trick to it, and that trick is that every emotion that you'll experience in your life has a recipe. So there's a recipe for happiness, there's a recipe for jealousy, there's a recipe for anger, there's a recipe for contentment. And if you can figure out what that recipe is, and it's not hard to do, you can sit here and list all the things that make you pissed off. You can sit here and list all the things that make you happy. And if you get in touch with what makes you happy, and you want to be more happy, all you have to do is more of the things that make you happy. Sounds super simple, but it's profound. Absolutely, and this is one of the exercises that we go through in Lifebook.
That is profound because so many of us set goals. And the reason we set goals is often for the emotion that the goals give us.
Absolutely true.
Right? Whether it's freedom of being an entrepreneur or the joy of having a particular experience. But what you're doing is you're setting goals and values for emotional states itself.
Directly to the state.
Directly to the state. That's absolutely intriguing.
So, like for instance, I know that my overnight dates with Missy every single week make me happy. I know that I'm going to be happy on Thursday night when we go on our overnight date. So I know that if I do that consistently, I'm going to be bringing happiness into my life consistently. It's easy to do once you get the knack of it, and it is really powerful.
That's great. Let's go on to category 4.
So category 4 is a category that Mind Valley members are very familiar with, the category of character. I think that this is self-reported the highest category in the Mind Valley community. And character, and that's a great one to do well in. That's probably the foundational category. There's a lot of debate about this, whether it's health and fitness, spirituality, or character, but for sure, character controls character controls your health and fitness and just about everything else in your life. That's where traits like self-discipline, self-responsibility, etc. live. Obviously incredibly important to creating an extraordinary life.
And that's really one thing I like about your philosophy. Again, we don't get trained to set goals for character.
Right.
But what if we did? What if we had goals for self-discipline?
Exactly.
Goals for staying true to our word. Goals for overcoming procrastination. Character goals are so important.
Incredible. And in Lifebook, what we do is we literally have you choose the character traits that you consciously want to build into your life, and you do that exactly that way. You set goals for things that you can practice to inject that character trait into your life. Hugely important. I want to say one more thing. I know that Mind Valley members have high character scores and that sometimes struggle in love relationship, sometimes struggle in financial life. But the bottom line is don't get discouraged, because the foundation of an extraordinary love relationship is 2 extraordinary people, and that comes from your character. The foundation of a great career and financial life is your character. So you've got the foundation in place. Now all you need to do is learn the strategies in those other categories, and you can nail it.
Let's go on to category 5.
Category 5 is spirituality, your spiritual life. And this is an interesting category, Vishen, because very few people have taken the time to sit down and define exactly what they believe about spirituality. You know, they've been handed their spirituality by their priest or by their parents or whatever. So in Lifebook, one of the things we do is we have you take a deep look at your own beliefs and document them. And that's an eye-opening experience for most people.
Right. As I say, your spirituality should be discovered, not inherited.
Nice, that's absolutely true.
Category 6.
So spirituality is the fifth category, and that's the last category in the personal life section. Health and fitness, intellectual, emotional, character, and spirituality. That's you separate from the rest of the world. So after we take a look at your personal life, we move on to your relationships. There's 3 categories in the relationship bunch. The first one is your love relationship. My personal favorite category. I had so much fun here, and it doesn't happen for everybody, but when it does happen, I don't think there's any greater joy than when 2 people come together and build a beautiful life together and do it successfully.
Right.
So, I love this category. The second category in the relationship section is parenting. Another fun, wild, insane, awesome category that we've had a lot of fun with over the years. And then the last category in the relationship section is your social life. Now, this is not only your friendships, but we also examine your relationships with your extended family here. And, this has been an interesting category. It was our weakest category by far. When we first started Lifebook, for sure, it was our weakest category. We've both got big families. We want to spend all of our time together. We've got companies to run. Didn't have a lot of time for friendships. Didn't understand the value that friendships could bring into your life. But then we started Lifebook, and all of a sudden we're surrounded by awesome people like you. Joe Polish introduces us to 10 million people. Nathaniel Brand, all of a sudden we've got amazing people in our lives. And by far, we've made more progress in this category over the last 5 or 6 years than any of the other ones, and have realized the incredible richness that lives here.
And you know what's exciting about these last 3 categories? Again, think about it, right? We don't get trained to set or even think about our goals for the people around us, whether it's our friends or our kids or our spouse. But there was a study done at Harvard. It was called the Very Happy People Study by Ed Diener. And he looked at everything in life that could possibly connect to happiness. Living in warm weather, having tons of money, and nothing correlated with happiness as much as one thing. It had a 0.7 correlation. And that one thing was the strength of your social connections.
And I've seen a study called the Grant Study that was the longest running study ever conducted on human beings. It was a Harvard study that was conducted over a 70-year period that showed exactly the same thing, that success in life in all categories of life correlated more with warm interpersonal relationships than any other factor.
Right.
Amazing,
but
right?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
We don't get trained to set these as goals. And so many of us live inadequately in terms of these. Now let's go on to the next category.
The next 2 categories are your business life, and they consist of career and financial. And these are the categories that often elude people. Success often eludes people here. These are the categories that you can get sucked into. They can, drain your life. And, the 2 big thoughts here are that we've learned over 25 years in a nutshell. The way to create a fulfilling, rewarding career is to do work you love and to do work you're good at. If you can do those 2 things, you can create a rewarding career. Now, that doesn't mean that you'll create financial abundance. That's a different model. The way to create financial abundance for yourself is to create value for the people around you as much as you can, and do it inside of a financial model that works for you. If you want the ultimate career, you'll do work you love, do work you're good at, that creates a tremendous amount of value for others, and you'll do it in a financial model that works for you. So that's kind of like the core
that's a beautiful summary.
Took us years to figure that out, as simple as it sounds.
And let's go on to the final 2 categories.
So the next category is also one of my favorites. It's called quality of life. Now, your quality of life depends to a large extent on how well you're doing on the categories that we just covered. So if you're 350 pounds and a smoker and can't get up the stairs, you've got to compromise quality of life. But assuming that you sort of have it dialed in the 10 categories that we just covered, what's left in the quality of life category is the things that you want to be surrounded by in your life. So, if you want a nice car, it lives here. If you want a nice boat, it lives here. The environments that you want to be surrounded by, this is where your dream house lives, and the experiences that you want to create in your life, which is, the adventure, the travel, the, going to the beautiful concerts, whatever it is for you. So the quality of life category is sort of the payoff at the end of the day. This is what, after you've done the hard work of creating an extraordinary life, this is like the icing on the cake, right? The fun stuff. And then the final category.
I just want to say something. This was something else that truly changed me when I took the Lifebook course. I'd never set goals for my environment. And after that course, I remember my wife and I moved to a new apartment, and we immediately hired the best interior designer we could, because we had set a vision and goals for what we wanted our space to look like.
Nice.
Anyway, our apartment ended up winning an award for
that's great,
I think we won a silver award for the most beautiful condo in the city.
Wow.
But part of it was inspired by Lifebook and having a clear vision for the type of space I wanted to be living in.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Well, my pleasure. And I'll tell you, I just want to say one thing about that. I've learned over the years how incredibly important your environment is to just about everything. So I work from my home, and I designed this space specifically to be creative, to be warm, to be inspiring, to be sensual. And one of the things we do at Lifebook is we look at strategies for building values into spaces. So if you want a super sexy bedroom, sensuality, there's a recipe for that. If you want tranquility and peacefulness, there's a recipe for that. If you want fun, there's a recipe for that. Again, this is one of the things that we've gone deep in, and it's really paid dividends.
Let's go on to the final category.
Final category is called Life Vision. And this category behaves a little different than the other 11 we've studied so far, because what Life Vision is you take all the work you've done in the 11 categories of your life and you combine it together into one singular, compelling life vision. You've thought through everything you want. Now, what does that look like on a daily basis? What's your ideal day? All that considered. What is your ideal life? What does your ideal life look like 5 years from now? And the work that you've done in the other 11 categories are what allow you to create a singular, compelling vision for your life. And this is what Missy and I did 20 years ago.
That's
there's our
really
vision.
amazing.
Yeah.
So you want to hear something fascinating? When we surveyed you guys and we asked you guys what would be part, if you could have a perfect day, what would be part of that day? One of the things that I was really happy that stood out, people actually put down work. They actually put down, if I had all the money I needed, my perfect day would still involve work, which says a ton about you guys listening. And I'm just really proud that came out. Now, what you just heard with the 12 categories of Lifebook, this masterclass is not about Lifebook. We're not even really going to be talking about Lifebook per se. What you're going to learn at the end of the masterclass is about a new project that me and John are releasing to the world. It's a Lifebook online course called the Lifebook 30-Day Challenge. It's based on Mindvalley's new Quest learning model. And you'll hear about that in a moment. But we'll skip that for now and go straight back to the hardcore content that we want to get to you. So let's talk about model number 3, autonomy and individuality.
Okay, so I think this probably extends from the fact that I'm an artist and I'm an introvert. And I've started a lot of businesses, but all of my businesses have basically been art-based. Precious Moments is the #1 art license in the history of the world. My dad is the artist that, he's
The #1 art license in the history of the world. It is so good to meet an artist who's actually making money.
Exactly. It doesn't happen very often, right? We're very blessed, very grateful. So there's been a very strong art component in everything I've done, including Lifebook. Lifebook is very aesthetic. You watch these movies and the environment's incredible. Yeah, it's a gorgeous experience. So sort of being an artist, introvert, rebel, one of the values that's most important to my wife and I, and always has been, is independence, autonomy. We march to our own drummer. One of the things that I've learned, Vishen, is that successful people are not followers. What successful person do you know that is just a follower, that's never brought any offense, that's never brought any individuality? Do you know anybody like that? No. So in our case, we call it a respectful, disregard for how anyone else chooses to do just about anything. So we'll take a look at all of our choices out there to educate our kids, take a look at all of our choices out there to sort of define and direct our love relationship, take a look at all the choices out there to get in great shape, and we'll make our decision on the strategies that we want to use that make sense to us. Just because everybody else is doing it is no reason to do it. As a matter of fact, what we've learned over the years is if everybody else is doing it, that's probably a red flag that there's a better way to do it. So we have just created our own models. We've fashioned and forged a life that is uniquely ours according to our values and our standards. We just don't worry about what anyone else is doing. We wanted a life that was authentically ours. And Lifebook was the tool that we used to craft that. So that's why we live so different, because we invented half of this stuff.
Right.
And we love it.
And that's what's interesting about the program that we're launching, the Lifebook 30-Day Challenge. You don't just learn to set your goals. You learn how to think differently
exactly right.
about these 12 categories. Now, one of the ways in which you think very differently, you guys may have heard of this, but John and his wife pull their kids out of school. Their kids do not go to public school. They educate their kids in a completely different way.
That's true.
They work out. They take care of their health in a completely different way. They run their businesses in a completely different way. So there's something really masterful and beautiful about how you challenge the rules. But I totally respect you for that.
Thank you.
Let's go on to model number 4, which is power habits and rituals.
I think I alluded to this earlier in this webinar. Every bit of success that we have in any area of life comes down to our rituals and our habits. So, the picture of me when I was 29 and 49, I never set a goal in my life, ever, to be in the same exact shape that I was at 25 at 50 years old. Never set a goal for that. Never consciously said, this is what I want to achieve. That happened by simply installing good habits at a young age and continuing to run those habits year after year after year after year. And all of a sudden I just got to this place that was like unprecedented. Same thing with our love relationship. It's our love relationship habits that we've put in place. Same thing with parenting. It comes down to your habits. That's the thing about personal development that we've discovered. That's one of the most incredible discoveries ever. Personal development only works when you integrate it and make it part of your lifestyle. If what you're learning doesn't change something that you do daily, it will not work. It will not take. If a goal that you set doesn't change something that you do daily, it's not worth the paper it's written on. You've got to change your behavior, and the most powerful way to do that is to install a habit that you've got to enjoy it or it won't work. You've got to figure out a way to create a habit that you will actually do on a consistent basis that will move your life in whatever category in the direction that you want to move it. And if you can do that, you will create miracles over time.
And what's interesting is the whole reason we designed this new program of ours, the Lifebook 30-Day Challenge, note the word 30-day challenge, is because it's designed to enforce habits within you.
Exactly.
And you do this by repeating certain things over 30 days. Mm-hmm. It's incredible, the results it has on people. So let's go on to the final one, and I love this one, a deep commitment to personal growth. And I know if you're watching this, you have that commitment, but it's good to be reminded of it. Tell us about how you applied this in your life.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you how that started, because I went through a really, really tough time in my life about 23 years ago. I had the worst year of my life. My brother died. Just like 6 or 7 massive, horrible things happened that year. And I was a mess. Right? That was a very, very difficult year. I'd never done any personal development work ever before in my life.
How old were you?
I was 30, I think. 30, 31 maybe. And I was hurting bad. And my dad knew it. I shared that with my dad. He lives in the Philippines, so we weren't able to spend a lot of time face to face, but I was talking to him on the phone, and he was up late one night watching TV, and he came across an infomercial by Tony Robbins. He ended up buying Personal Power and sending it to me. This was my very first ever introduction to personal development. So I did that program over 30 days, and I got a foothold. I got a grip. It sort of pulled me out of the slump that I was in and gave me a foothold, pointed me in the right direction. And so Vishen, from that point on, I just started eating up personal development. I don't like necessarily seminars or crowds or big events, but I learned by audio. That's my favorite way, or that was my favorite way, because there was no internet back then. So I just ate up everything I could. Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, all the greats, the classics. And so Missy and I both studied personal development for years. And then when we started doing these 12 categories, now all of a sudden we had placeholders to put this stuff. All these great ideas, I had a way to organize them in my life so that I could really apply them. And then when we actually started Lifebook as a company about 10 years ago, we started going through this cycle with our Lifebook community where you have 12 categories and 12 months. So we're going to focus on one category per month every year. January's health and fitness, February's intellectual, etc., all the way through the year. So we started going through these cycles where we deep dive into a category a month. And over a few years of doing those cycles, we just literally started mastering these categories. And so I have to give that particular strategy massive credit for getting us where we are now.
And it's probably one of the most important strategies.
I would say.
But for those of you listening, note two really, really, really important things that John said. One is the 12 categories. He spends a month every year focusing in one of those areas.
Deep
That's
dive.
a phenomenal idea.
Yeah, deep
and
dive.
deep diving. And the second thing is everything he learns in personal growth. By having the 12 categories almost as a baseline, he knows where to insert those ideas.
Yep.
And that is why the Lifebook 12 categories are such a big part of my life as well. That's why I wrote about it in my book, because it is that important to me. And that's why, of course, we have John on this masterclass. So, John, thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. How many of you here, raise your hands in the privacy of your own rooms if you wish you had this information? What John shared about relationships, what he shared about the importance of habits, what he shared about questioning and individuality. How many of you here wish that you had actually learned this in school?
Yeah.
Right? Raise your hand. Think about how much your lives would be different if you had known this. I'm glad I had started going into this through my exposure to you 5 years ago. So thank you for attending this class. And John, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now what I want to do is tell you about the upcoming project. This is one of the most incredible programs we've ever developed at Mindvalley. Let me just say off the bat, this is now officially the single highest budget new program Mindvalley has ever produced. And it is based on Lifebook. Now, the actual Lifebook event is $7,500 for an individual to attend here in Chicago. $10,000 if you're a couple. That's because it takes place in John's actual home.
Right.
And you have facilitators and guides guiding you through 4 days of immersion, looking at the 12 categories of your life. Now, some of you might want to attend that. It is incredible. I definitely recommend it. But for many of you, that $7,000 may not be something you're prepared to invest in yet. So what John and I have created, because I so believe in this, is an online model for Lifebook that over 30 days is going to get you looking at these 12 categories and giving you particular insights how to revolutionize these categories. This is our new program. It is called the Lifebook 30-Day Challenge, and it's only available on Mindvalley Academy. And just so this program could give people extraordinary results, we've built an accompanying app that's going to take you through the program. Now, this is part of Mindvalley's new commitment to bringing you only the best trainings with the best curriculum design, with the best technology. I'm going to talk about all of that a little bit later. But first, John, tell us why this new program is so important.
So here's what we explore in the 30 days of this challenge, and I'm so excited about this too. The first thing we take a look at is, what is an extraordinary life? What does having it all mean? Is it possible for you? What's the definition of it? A life that works at a high level in every important area. We go deep into what it is and what it means. Now we're going to take a look at how to get that. So over the course of 30 days, we take you through each of the 12 categories. We familiarize you with the category. We share some of the most profound concepts that we've learned over the last 25 years in each category. And then we give you one powerful, simple exercise that you can do, one of the most powerful exercises that we've ever discovered in each category. And by the end of the 30 days, you will have moved the needle in your life across every important area of your life. What's interesting about this challenge, Vishen, is that we've been doing this for a long time. We've learned a lot. We've taken thousands of people through, and as you might imagine, we've really dialed in on what works and what doesn't. And what this 30-day challenge consists of is it's like 25 years of condensed wisdom. You go through this course, you will bring so much consciousness to your life across every important area. There's no way that you don't transform. You get rewarded for doing work like this, for bringing this much consciousness to your life and then taking this much action. And it's also fun.
It is incredibly fun. Now, here's the best part. For this program, we actually invested in a whole new technology platform because it's really important to us that we don't just have the best teachers, that we actually are investing in the psychology of learning so our students are completing the courses and you're getting results. So here's what we found, right? Now, the traditional way of doing courses is to buy a course and then you study it by yourself in your own time for about 8 to 10 hours. Some of you might do it over a weekend. Some of you might stretch it out over several months, but you're doing it by yourself. This new model that we are innovating for Lifebook's 30-day challenge is called Quest. And it's because we think of this as a 30-day quest, a quest to dramatically transform your life. So what happens is this. Thousands of people are going to enroll in this program. This program is going to start on a particular date. The exact start date is below. But all of you, all 4,000 to 5,000 of you who are going to enroll from watching this masterclass are going to start on the same day. And every day for 30 days, John is going to come on and guide you with a specific idea, a specific model reality or system of living that's going to start transforming you. So in 30 days, you will not recognize the man or woman you were 1 month earlier. But there's more to it than just that. First, this is based on a principle called micro-learning. What we found is that we don't want to give you an hour of learning every single day. Micro-learning means each lesson every day is under 20 minutes, so it's easily consumable. There's no excuse to even skip a day. And the other reason there's no excuse is because with the accompanying app, you can actually learn this on the go, while shopping, while jogging, while in the treadmill, while commuting to work. You get to learn on the go. But here's something crazy. We found that we would dramatically increase completion rates for these courses when we added a unique component, really simply, community. So everybody who's on this app learns from John, and then when that learning is done, they get to engage with a community of thousands of other people learning the same thing at the same time. So people share their insights, they share results, they keep each other motivated. Stuck somewhere, ask a question, and dozens of people will reply to help you. The Mindvalley community is really supportive of each other this way. So you're learning directly with John, training you every single day on a beautiful new system that allows you to learn on the go, a beautiful new app called Quest by Mindvalley. And you have a supporting community, thousands of people connected all around the world doing the same chapter, the same day, and helping each other along. And at the end of 30 days, what we find often is 80 to 90% of people complete this. This is a 3 times higher completion rate than even the best online courses in the industry.
Which is phenomenal, because this is the problem in the industry. We all know this. Personal development programs that are purchased online don't get completed. This is why this is so great.
Right, and we really wanted to invest in completion rate because we want to give you results that are completely going to change your life.
The Lifebook Quest just was phenomenal.
It pushes you to do it every day and you'll see the results.
And I gotta tell you, when I went through Lifebook, it was the absolute best decision I could have ever made.
Lifebook makes you look deeply in each category of your life.
There are areas that I've never focused on.
The clarity that Lifebook has given me is to be able to live all those different areas in balance, which overall helps me to achieve my vision and what I want in life.
I think the biggest outtake for me is the importance of planning your life in general.
It's about deep reflection and really gaining that clarity in each and every single category.
When we did Lifebook with Missy and John Butcher,
and we did it together.
We did it together. We so resonated with the message that they are doing as a couple because we do that as well.
How you see your love life and how you see future family and parenting, and this is amazing that we have this opportunity to take it together.
I realized that I can define spirituality the way I want, and the moment I gave myself that permission, everything clicked.
Lifebook is all about making your dreams, that dream come true. Like, how do you see that life? How do you see that playground? And you're there playing.
I really loved it.
I believe like everybody needs it, but if you have some strong beliefs and something that is holding you from everything,
Lifebook makes you question that.
Yeah, Lifebook really can.
I can fix my character. Committed to share this vision. To be a successful entrepreneur.
Uplift the homeless community.
So I want to empower young adults and teenagers.
I want to live my life to the fullest potential.
So here's what you got to know. All the information on how to enroll in this program and the start date is below. So make sure you enroll before the start date because we're all going through this together. You are not alone. And as a thank you for watching this class, if you enroll on this page, do not close this page, you get a special unlock price. Just as a thank you for watching this webinar, we've dropped the price further on this page. Now you can enroll for this program up to the start date. When the start date begins, we want everybody starting at the same time, so no one else is going to be accepted into this program. So you must enroll before the start date. And as you can tell from the pricing below, it is incredibly affordable. Our goal at Mindvalley is to bring transformative ideas to the masses, and our customers come from all around the world. So we wanted to make this affordable to people in every country. And remember, as a bonus, you guys know this about Mindvalley, as a thank you for watching the masterclass, you get an even further discount just on this page. So do not close this page. If you enroll on this page, you get that further discount. So there you have it. Okay. Incredible teacher, incredible curriculum, great technology, a great program, a supportive community, and a quest that is designed to absolutely change your life. Everything is below. So go ahead and enroll before the start date or enroll today and unlock an even better bonus. John, anything else you'd like to add?
Well, yes, I'd like to say, Vishen, I'd just like to express my gratitude to you. And I think I'm talking on behalf of everybody that's watching this right now. From my personal perspective, I never wanted to be a personal development guy. I never set out to be it, but over 15 years, I developed this tool that does miraculous things. Shared it with my friends, decided we had to share it with the world. You know the story. So it's an incredible tool that can change people's lives, but I wouldn't be able to be near as effective with it if it wasn't for your genius in everything that you just said. What you're doing at Mindvalley is making a real difference. So I just want to thank you on behalf of everyone I know that has done your courses and everyone watching right now for doing so much good in the world.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, that's number one. And number two, I'm going to say this. If you enroll in this 30-day challenge and take it seriously and do the exercises, you will never regret that decision. It's going to change your life.
All the information is below. Check it out. Now, some of you may be interested in the full Lifebook program, the $10,000 per couple or the $7,500 per individual seminar that happens right here in John's home. Because it's happening with an intimate group, that is for a limited audience and it happens on specific dates. What we're going to do is we're going to send you an email about that when we know the dates that's going to be happening. So don't worry about that. Right now, think about the 30-day challenge. All the information is below. And when you go through this, I'm going to be in that challenge with you, as are hundreds of people from Mindvalley and our families. We build this for ourselves. every single personal growth program that we develop right now is something that I developed because I cannot wait to bring this to my mom, my
Awesome.
dad, my
That's awesome.
family, my employees. So there's going to be about 100 people from Mind Valley, all our staff, and they get to bring in their parents and their spouses and their siblings and so on, are going to be in it
In
as
our
well.
community at Lifebook, all of us are going to be doing it too.
Right. Thousands of us
So we'll
in
see
this
you there.
together. Check it out below, and I cannot wait to see you in this program.
Thanks so much.